Will there be a Wicked Part 3 about the Munchkins in college?
Why was Goldilocks so fond of tepid porridge? Huge news, and not the kind of huge news that makes you think, oh, what have the government done now? Outlaw libraries? No, good news.
Indeed, yeah, we have a new product, and this is our big launch.
A product? Oh, a product? You make it sound like we've got a new moped. Oh, Ollie, you've worked so hard on this. Big it up. It's taken you ages.
We have 2 new products.
Oh, for fuck's sake, 2 mopeds. Go bigger.
Which are here as a result of me having spent quite a few hours uploading our entire back catalogue to Patreon.
Entire? You know what that includes, or do you?
If you're the Answer Me This enthusiast / completist, you may be thinking, it's all very well having lots of episodes of Answer Me This available for free on my podcast feed. That's fine. But what I'd really like is everything Helen, Ollie and Martin have ever recorded all in one place. And I'd like that to go back all the way to 2007. And I'd like it to include all of the retro episodes that they used to release where they do an intro at the beginning, dismissing their former selves as idiots.
Yes, the Parade of Remorse, a.k.a. What From Our Past, aged like a fine shit.
I'd like it to include all the formerly called bits of crap on the app bonus bits.
Yes, we used to have an app, back when single-purpose apps were a thing. And every time, people got a little bit of bonus material.
And I'd like it to include all 6 albums that Answer Me This has ever put out behind a paywall. I'd like all those things to be on a special feed. But, Helen,
what?
I'd like them in Apple Podcasts, because that's where I listen to podcasts, or Pocket Casts, or Downcast, or Overcast, and others. I'd like it there, along with the new episodes, and I'd like them all ad-free.
Whoa!
And I'd like them in chronological order, please.
Whoa!
Well,
That's
you, niche listener, your wish is our... what's the word I'm looking for?
It's our new Patreon offering.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say.
It's what Ollie Mann has spent months pulling together, because there is so much stuff.
Yeah, but we've all put the work in, Helen. You were there for the 19 years before and very involved in creating the files that I was then uploading.
Sure, but I have not had to deal with this circus of pain. But well worth it. What do we say to people who are like, well, I already bought all the old episodes and albums and even the app before? I guess what you are purchasing is a convenience of listening to them in a system that is equipped for the modern day, unlike the ones that Ollie Mann had to build from scratch because this podcast predates convenience. And also, you're funding the show. It's because of your support that Answer Me This can continue into 2026.
Yes, exactly. Yes, we are carrying on into 2026, and that is a result of all of you guys supporting us at Patreon. So thank you. And if you can afford to join the most basic tier, which still gets you our live video streams and our bonus bits, and you can listen ad-free on the Patreon app, it gets you all of that, please do.
That's the questionnaire tier.
But if you fancy the things that I've described, you can either join our new middle tier, which is called 4-Star Hotel. Shout out Carla Davitt on Patreon, who suggested the name.
4-Star Hotel.
That gets you basically everything apart from the first 5 years of the show. But if you join Soundbag, which is our top tier, that gets you absolutely everything all the way back to episode 1, all on Apple Podcasts.
And some of the other podcast places. And, by the way, gift subscriptions are a thing.
Yes.
Patreon.com/answermethis/gift. So for someone who used to listen to this show back in season 1, 2007 to 2021, and didn't know that Answer Me This came back for season 2 this year, what a gift to make them shit themselves with joy.
Patreon.com/answermethis. Fill your ears with everything we've ever done.
Dear Helen and Ollie, answer me this from Tim in Exeter. What do I do with the little knitted hats that you get on top of innocent smoothies? I just bought a meal deal a few minutes ago, and it has one of those little knitted hats on it. I've got no use for it, and I've got about 10 of them now, sitting on top of the chest of drawers. They're quite nice, so it feels bad to just chuck them away, but I didn't really want them. Can I afford them off in a charity shop or something? Thank you.
For those who've not encountered a smoothie wearing a little hat, the brand Innocent Smoothies, which is widespread in Britain, sells bottles of smoothie that are wearing miniature hats. I'd say they're about, 4 centimetres tall, hand-knitted hats.
I mean, I'd like to agree with you. I've never seen one IRL.
Really?
And I drink innocent smoothies. I buy them, but obviously the meal deals I'm doing are not the knitted ones.
You have to choose between an extraneous hat or crisps.
Yeah. I mean, I've very much digested the company line on this now because I've learnt about it through Innocent's own website. But it's quite nice, isn't it? The hats are knitted by volunteers, in return for which Innocent give 30 pence per bottle to Age UK. They've raised £3.6 million since they started. But if you don't want the knit, you can return it via free post.
Okay.
So there's no need for it to go wasted. Free post, big knit.
What I wonder about when a company is like, if you buy something with this, we will donate a percentage. It's like, well, okay, well, if you're going to do that, do it anyway.
Yes.
Like you could do it for a bottle that doesn't have a knitted hat, and then you wouldn't have someone worrying about what to do with a thing they don't, I mean, no one needs.
Yeah. I used to agonise about this when I worked at ITV and I was partly responsible for the content around the This Morning charity calendar. Mm-hmm. I used to think like, yes, it's true that £1 of every sale of this calendar goes to whatever charity they're supporting. But the way they make it look on telly is like, that's the thing to do for the charity this Christmas is buy this calendar. And it's like, nah, it's a calendar with pictures of Alison Hammond in it. Like the £1 to charity is just a nice bonus, but it's not like if you want to give money to the charity, give your £10 to the charity instead, Charity
singles as well. It's such an infinitesimally small amount of money. So what a wheeze. I suppose it is marketing foremost, both for the product and for the charity. This hat idea was the brainchild of a marketer called Adam Rostam. Came up with it in 2003. He saw a picture of someone wearing a woolly hat and thought, wouldn't it be cool if the smoothie bottles were wearing woolly hats to keep them warm?
It would also keep the cooling, I suppose. It's not going to rise to room temperature quite as quickly if it's partly insulated.
So anyway, the sensible answer, as I say, is if you don't want your hat, you can return it free post big knit, and the hat will find its way back to be repurposed in another smoothie. But for some silly ideas, I was thinking maybe line them and use them as a shot glass.
That wouldn't work at all. What would you line them with? A glass?
Maybe fill them with sand and use them for target practice.
Again, the sand will leach out of a knitted fabric, Ollie. Where is your mind?
Or sit it on the bell end of your knob and be a little willy warmer.
I was dreading that this question would make one of you come up with the idea of putting a hat on a penis. I've seen people online putting them on their car gear sticks so that in winter their hands aren't cold.
Yeah.
I've got a much more sensible idea than any of those things.
Is it egg cozies?
Oh, that's a good idea.
That's not bad, actually.
What about converting a pair of fingerless gloves to a pair of fingery gloves?
Oh, that's quite good. I've actually got a pair of gloves where the thumb hole has come off. I haven't replaced it because that's, of course, my texting thumb. It's actually quite useful. In fact, if anything, if they were marketed differently, I'd buy these gloves now in their ruined state. They'd be much more useful than when they were new. But, if it weren't the texting thumb, if it was any of the other digits, then that's quite a nice idea, yes.
And then you've got like little finger puppets because some of the hats are in the shapes of animals, fruit, unicorns. There's a post box. That'd be cute.
According to the Innocent website, quote, they've been modelled by all sorts of action figures, not to mention animals great and small, from gerbils and guinea pigs to lizards and African snails.
Okay, do we know if a snail enjoys wearing headgear? I think you could make them into a little garland as a Christmas decoration and then fob it off onto someone else that likes that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Another solution would be for Tim to buy a different brand of smoothie that doesn't land him with a hat.
That's true, yeah. I think that's probably not what they intended, but yes, that's right, just buy the one without the hat.
Yeah, and then make a donation to Age UK.
Some of the hats are fruit-themed, but not necessarily the fruit that's in the bottle, and I find that quite distracting. So I
see.
Like a bottle of apple juice that had an aubergine hat on it. Put me off the apple juice.
And when the apple juice had a unicorn hat on it, did that disturb you even more that it didn't taste of unicorn meat?
Yeah, totally. Unicorn meat's my favourite, especially at Christmas time.
So tender.
Here's a question from Matt in Solihull, who says, as I'm dragged around the Birmingham Frankfurt Christmas market for the umpteenth year in a row, I have noticed that the stalls are all identical year after year. Mm-hmm. They have the same decorations, locations, merch and food year after year. All of their signs are written in the same font as each other, with the first letter of the shop name painted red. I begin to wonder, he says.
After umpteen years of no wondering.
Yeah. Helen, answer me this. What is the deal with the Frankfurt market in Birmingham? Is it even tied to Frankfurt at all?
Frankfurt and Birmingham are twin towns. a concept we explain in Answer Me This 170, available if you sign up for patreon.com/Answer Me This.
Which tier?
Soundbag to get that.
Soundbag tier.
Max tier.
Yeah.
Marty tier.
Birmingham is quite promiscuous with the twin towns. It's got so many.
How dare you?
Ulsan in South Korea, Johannesburg, Milan, Chicago, Leipzig. It's not even the only German town that Birmingham is twinned with, Frankfurt. So I thought, well, why Frankfurt's market, not Leipzig's? I think it's because Leipzig's market is a mere infant, dating back to 1458 compared to Frankfurt's 1393. That's when their Christmas market began. And also Leipzig is a later twin. Frankfurt got twinned with Birmingham 1966, Leipzig not till 1992.
I wonder if there was a war connection then. You know, that's still only 20 years after the Second World War, isn't it? I wonder if maybe like Frankfurt and Birmingham experienced equivalent levels of bombing and deprivation during the war.
Hey, we bombed each other. Why can't we be friends?
Fair's fair, lads. Now let's have a market exchange.
Yeah, we all like hot dogs and candles. Let's put our differences to one side.
I was reading a little bit about the history of these Christmas markets because in the last, I'd say 15, 20 years, German-styled themed markets have become super popular. I mean, around Britain, right?
Yeah.
But they were also kind of a trend in Germany as well of sort of nationalism. When the Nazis were in, they said that in those markets, all the items for sale should reflect national pride and they should all be rooted in German Christmas tradition. And then after the war, they kind of carried on with that and just sort of like tried to shrug off the fact that it'd been part of Nazi image building.
That's sort of interesting, but I must say, Matt, I know you're bored in a Christmas market. It would hold no interest to me at all as a punter. I would not care in the least whether it was a German-style market or a Frankfurt-style market, whether it was sponsored by Frankfurt Tourism.
Or Leipzig.
Or whether it was coordinated with partners in Frankfurt. I mean, the net result is the same. Like, you get it. It's a German Christmas market. Like, what does it matter? From the punter's point of view, does it really make any difference? There's nothing more authentic about this, is there? I mean, I guess that's what he's getting at.
Well, it was originally a project of the town twinning where they were like, okay, Birmingham and Frankfurt are going to do various joint initiatives. And this one happens to have stuck for many years. It's been going since 2001. It was much smaller then. But you're right that often these markets are quite disappointing if you actually want to buy things at them. They're not that exciting.
The point that he makes about the same stall holders year after year, I get that because there are so many events. Like, I live in a village, and so I like to go and support my local village events. But when you go 2 years running, you immediately get that feeling because it's deja vu, it's Groundhog Day, isn't it? Like, it's not a big enough market to have changed. The things that work come back again. So my summer fete in the village where I live, I can tell you now, like, that's where the woman who sells the hanging planters is going to be. That's where they got the candy floss stall. That's where it Splat the Rat. This is the band that's coming on at 3:00, and these are the 5 covers they're going to play.
Would it be a reasonable assumption that in the culture where this event exists, people are not going to it for a radically different event each year? They want the reassurance of the thing that happens every year.
Well, I suppose that's Christmas in many ways, isn't it? The ring of familiarity.
It stops time for a bit.
Yeah.
On the other hand, for Matt, it's just annual parade of boredom and pointlessness. And that's his tradition.
It provides an opportunity to sell stuff that they can't sell the rest of the year because it's
roasted
stuff that's associated with Christmas. Roasted chestnuts. Panettone. I mean, I don't mind panettone, but it's not great, is it? You wouldn't. It's just not a thing. Like, if someone
it is
said,
a thing. I mean, you're going to get a lot of angry emails from Italians if you say panettone's not a thing.
But if it wasn't being geared up as a Christmas thing in a decorative tin, if someone at any other time of the year was like, "Have you got 20 quid? I can sell you a thing you can make into a summer pudding," you'd be like, "No, I'm all right."
I feel like most of the Christmassy things are like German, like Christmas market, Christmas trees, all of this stuff. So much of it is German. How's Germany become the Christmas country?
I think that was probably because of Victorians and like Queen Victoria and Prince Albert.
Is how. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, for sure, but Christmas markets are much more, feel like a more recent transplant.
It's because they've got little wooden cute huts, Martin. Could have been the Luxembourgian Christmas market, but Luxembourg doesn't have the marketing budget of Germany.
Also, Germany's got the fonts.
I don't think Henry Winkler's from Germany.
You know, you think of Oktoberfest, you think of Jägermeister.
Often.
It's the font you want at Christmas, isn't it?
Oh, I see, the gothy,
The gothy thing, the Bavarian thing. They've just got the fonts.
I suppose I don't want it at Christmas, but I want it less the rest of the year.
Exactly.
So your point stands by default.
Yeah. Like hard cake, like savoury chutney, like all the shit people buy in these places. Exactly right. That's what I'm saying. It's tolerable in that circumstance.
A monstrous sight on the shelves behind me, Ollie, is a Christmas pudding that Martin and I made with his family a couple of weeks ago. It's just sitting there putrescing until Christmas.
It's developing flavour.
What's the opposite of porn? Because that's what that is for me. Something that makes me feel...
Boner killers.
Yes, absolutely repellent. Yeah, no, I know it's hanging over your shoulder for the whole way through this recording. I'm going to be distracted and slightly sickened.
Can you smell
You're
it?
so right.
Yeah.
Even though there is basically a kink for everything, Christmas pudding is the opposite of porn. Well done. We finally found it.
So rank.
And you can listen to Ollie complaining about Christmas pudding in our back catalogue.
That is a deep cut, early days.
Notorious Christmas pudding hater. Well, here's another question with a German connection from Cirque, near, formerly in, Seattle, who says, when I was in high school, I had a huge crush on a German exchange student, and before she moved back at the end of the year, she
said, come with me to Birmingham. There's an amazing Christmas market there.
Feels just like home. Before she moved back at the end of the year, she gave me a mix CD. I assumed that she gave it to me just as a friend, but 2 decades later, it suddenly occurred to me to ask, answer me this, did she mean it as more than just a friend? Well, we've got that exchange student with us right now, and finally she can confirm. The only songs I can remember, says Cirque, were Leaving on a Jet Plane, Fields of Gold, Hotel California, and Pete Seeger singing Die Gedanken sind frei.
Well, those aren't sexy songs. I mean, that might be a sexy one in Pete Seeger's repertoire, perhaps, and at least it wasn't If I Had a Hammer. But it's not Love on Top by Beyonce, is it? So I'm not sure that she was crushing on you, but I think it's true to say that we can't be sure that she wasn't. Not because you haven't supplied enough information, although you haven't, but just generally because the medium of mixtapes, often if you are making a tape for someone, I'm going to use the word tape even though this was a CD because that's what it is.
I think the genre really demands the term mixtape, yeah.
The genre, yes. If you're making a mixtape for someone, they are the object of your attention, at least, aren't they? You're trying to remind them of you, at least, aren't you? You never could have dreamt probably 20 years later you'd still remember it. But that's sort of the idea. I'm going to leave this lingering thing with you because you're special, and I want you to think of me. So even if it's subliminal, even if it's kind of, latent, I think often there's an element of unrequited love in a mixtape donation. That's my feeling.
Yeah, I'm trying to think now of mixtapes I've been given, and I think most of them were by an ex in the 90s. But then Martin used to do an annual exchange with his friends of mixes, which I thought was actually a very sweet idea of just what their favourite songs were that year. And that wasn't romantic, I assume, Martin, or was that a happy byproduct?
No.
It wasn't just the warm-up to a massive circle jerk.
As I've got older, I've listened to music not enough to be like, here are my top 12 songs or 15 songs of the year. Now it's like I could probably rustle up a couple. Just the way that I listen to music has changed so much. I guess when you're younger, you're just discovering things for the first time. And you're like, who's this Bob Dylan guy?
Yeah. Well, that's, I think, explains the presence of Fields of Gold and Hotel California on this particular mix.
Yeah, I'm trying to work out if there's a hidden message there. There's travel themes there, right? Like leaving on a jet plane,
Well, she
Hotel
was literally
California.
about to jet off back to Germany, I presume. So that's...
Yeah.
Also, often in adolescence, if it was the first mixtape you'd made for someone, you'd just put on your favourite hits, right? It wouldn't necessarily be a message. Whereas if you'd done a few for them, maybe you'd be like, okay, I want this one to make them feel these things.
Yes. I've heard one before with a very clear signal. I was on holiday with my mum once in Cyprus, just the two of us, when I was about 16 and she was a hot 45.
Your mum is forever hot. I'm sorry
Sure.
to objectify her because she has many other qualities, but she is very hot.
And the classic Shirley Valentine style Greek waiter had a crush on her.
No wonder.
And left her a mixtape at our hotel reception desk.
Wow.
It opened with Je t'aime by Serge Gainsbourg and Jane Birkin.
Well, he had a deadline of her holiday being finite.
Yeah,
he had
exactly.
a shot to shoot. Did it work out for him?
Well, she did see him again. We went back to the restaurant and she said, thank you for the tape. Can I have some tzatziki?
Yeah. Refill this pitter on the house.
Anyway, that was a little bit on the nose, but I do think that the subtext very often nonetheless is like, I'm going to paint a vision of what our weekends will be like when we're together. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
We'll wake up on a Sunday morning, the sun will be streaming in through the window. After hours of extraordinary sex, we'll wake up with a platter of croissants and we will listen to John Denver on vinyl. She's creating an image, you know what I mean? Of like, this is what our lives could be like.
I suppose it's also like really expressing to someone, here's a bit more about me, but not in the form of autobiography. It's more like atmospheric.
Yeah, which I was always uncomfortable with, actually, like even doing the platonic ones of the style that Martin was talking about, because I quite like some quite dark songs, but I'm not a dark person, like at all. I'm generally quite a positive, like upbeat person, but
True.
I like listening to songs about dark things. And I don't want people to think, oh, that's what's inside his brain, because it genuinely isn't. It just amuses me.
Well, then would you write liner notes for this mixtape that is theoretical?
Ignore this bit about suicide. It's just for fun.
It's just because I like the beat.
I don't really listen to lyrics. Although in your case, that's not true, I don't think.
Well, it's a mode for me. Like sometimes I have like re-listened to something on like the 20th or 30th time and thought, oh, that's what that's about. And sometimes I really don't listen to the lyrics, and sometimes I really do. It kind of depends.
Yeah, I get that. What happens if, someone makes you a mixtape with romantic intentions and you don't like it? Does that kill your interest in them?
Well, I think it's a good advance notice.
I suppose.
Don't turn down that fork in the road. It's a mistake.
Yeah, there's a lot of Jordan Peterson set to beats on this mixtape.
If you've got a question, then email your question to googlemail.com. To me this podcast at googlemail.com. To me this podcast at googlemail.com. To me this podcast at googlemail.com.
We have a lengthy question from Angela, who says, I've been married for 20 years now, and this is a blow-by-blow account. Not really.
All went well for the first 2.5 years.
The third year, cooked me a breakfast with an overcooked egg. That really started us on a downward slope. Angela says, when I got my Gmail account with what was going to be my married name, I had to be invited by an existing Gmail user. That's how long I've had this email address.
Well, you're speaking to people who have got an email address that ends with @googlemail.com, so we've been around almost as long.
Well, I think that was a blip after this point where you had to have an invitation.
Yes.
I think that was an early 2000s thing, and ours was mid-2000s where Brits couldn't get Gmail temporarily.
Correct.
Anyway, let's keep that for some exclusive content, us boring on about the history of Gmail. Angela says, however, because my married name is so common, for years, strangers with similar or in some cases the same name have used my email. They sign me up for a lot of junk mail, which is frustrating. They have also signed me up for stuff that provides me with their personal information.
Uh-oh.
They've used my email for their bank. They use my email to register for appointments, some of which seem important. I have at least once notified the sender that it was the wrong email. They have used my email to sign up for online cloud storage, and I was able to click through all their photos.
Oh, that's bad.
They have used my email to sign up for job boards. Too bad they're in New Orleans and Florida and I'm in Dallas. They use my email for returns. Not sure how they were returning when they don't have the return slip, because it's in Angela's email, obviously. But this gets me their actual physical address.
She's getting a bit crazy on the power of this, I feel.
Well, I think she doesn't want this power. It's been thrust upon her. She says, this doesn't even include all the websites, gambling sites, and other junk that I just have to get rid of. Which brings me to my question.
Should I just take to the dark web and be a full-time scammer? I've got loads of information on people.
I have never done anything with this information, but I have occasionally considered sending them an actual letter without my own return address, asking them to cease and desist. It is more than one person, so even getting one to stop wouldn't stop all of it. Annoying as it is, it seems creepy to contact them. But I can only assume that they think no one has this email, or they wouldn't be including so much personal information. Ollie, answer me this. Would you send a letter in a situation like this to at least let them know how much data they are unknowingly sharing?
No.
Okay. The best thing to do, says Angela, would be for me to get a new email.
Correct.
But I don't want some random name 4582 at blah, blah, blah. I've tried other email services, Proton Mail, for example, But Gmail is just so ubiquitous, it makes it difficult to switch.
I do think that is the straightforward solution here. There are other email providers. Get one of those.
Angela says, I could go back to using my pre-marriage name because that name was beautifully unusual and I miss it a bit. So I might be able to get a Gmail with it. Why don't you get a Gmail with a double barrel? Because that is much less likely to be mistaken for anyone else's name.
Angela Mountbatten Windsor.
There you go.
Yes, you should get a new email address. Yes. There are lots of ways to combine your name with other words. Although that said, I made a mistake when I set up the email address for my mum because her name at emailprovider.com wasn't available. And so I thought a neat way around that would be to put the word email in front of her name.
What era was this? That's very retro.
What era was this? 15 years ago?
Right, okay, fine.
So her email address was email karenmann at web service. And of course, now it's just been a nightmare. Like every time she's on the phone trying to give her email address, she has to say that's email with the word email as part of the email address, often to people in foreign call centers, and it doesn't work. So that's tedious. And even like web scraping forms think that it's not really an email address because it starts with the word email. So I'm probably not the person to ask. I once decided when I was about 20, there was a brief period I went through where I think it's because there was another Oliver Mann who wrote for The Guardian, and I got a piece in The Guardian, and I had to have a name that wasn't Oliver Mann. So I was like, can I have my middle initial? And they said, yes, my middle initial is L, which reminded me of Samuel L. Jackson. So I was like, well, that's cool. So I'll be Oliver L. Mann. And so I thought, well, I better have an email address that matches that because I've never used my middle initial for anything. So I actually had my full name. I was Oliver Louis Mann. And I was quite proud of I was like, yeah, I can go with that.
Nice.
But I got it at Netscape. Oliver Louis Mann at netscape.net. And then it shut down like 6 months later. And I was like, I'm just going with Ollie. Forget this.
Gambled and lost.
Yeah. But in general, I would say to you, Angela, that you should stop being so conscientious. Like the people who are putting your email address down either sloppily by accident or punitively on purpose are being much less thoughtful about all of this than you. Just delete them all on sight, like I do with PR emails. It's quite liberating. Like, you see it's not for you, don't read them. Like, click and delete and feel good. Give yourself an endorphin release as you delete them.
Yeah, but then what if it's something important? Like, my name is uncommon, and particularly this spelling of Zaltzman. There are many spellings of it. But even so, I got some emails for someone, I don't think they were even a Helen. It was like some other fairly common name. Zaltzman, maybe with an S instead of a Z. And they were like legal summons because they'd been named in a lawsuit in New York, like a medical suit.
Yeah.
And I wrote back to the lawyers being like, you should be more careful.
From my interaction with solicitors, that doesn't surprise me.
Maybe they're like, we get paid $300 per email, so it behooves me to send some bad ones. But I had to write back because, for the person not receiving that, it's quite consequential.
I think it is the ordinary experience now in the English-speaking world that you get, like, I don't know, if I was to put a number on it, I'd say probably 20 a year like this anyway, whoever you are. Like, I get, receipts for hotels that I haven't booked, travel insurance policies that aren't me, auditions or interviews for jobs.
Oh, you should go.
Well, yeah. Well, so they are always in Florida. She's right about that. I don't know why. There seems to be a lot of people in Florida applying for things.
Is it just spam farms then in Florida?
Maybe. But anyway, when I get those and I think, well, that could be important to the person who sent them, I do actually tend to reply and say, wrong Oliver, I'm afraid, !
But then after a while, it is a faff, isn't it? I'm not completely opposed to her sending a letter if that would help her let off some steam.
Or embrace being an Angela common name and meet the other Angela common names, like Are You
like
Dave Gorman? Yeah.
I mean, I get it, and I've got a pretty uncommon name. As far as I know, there's 2 Martin Austwicks in the UK, one of whom I'm in correspondence with, and one of whom I'm not.
And not related to, definitely?
I'm possibly distantly, but I've actually been having a conversation about that very thing. But not certainly not closely. We're not like cousins or whatever. There's Martin Austwick who lives in the south of England, who I talk with, and there's a Martin Austwick who lives in the north of England, who I've never spoken with. But a couple of years ago, I received an email from the NHS about a preoperative screening that they needed, and I was just like, what is happening here? Like, this is clearly not spam.
Yeah.
Has he just put his address in wrong? I guess I got the most common one because I've got like, you can probably guess what my email address is.
Email Martin Austwick at netscape.net.
Yeah. But you would have thought People must know their own email addresses, right?
You're lingering on the least interesting part of this story. The more interesting part of this story is when you said that you're having a continuous conversation with another Martin Austwick.
It's very sweet because sometimes the other Martin Austwick will be like, oh, well done us. Because it's a Martin Austwick triumph. It's adorable.
Yeah. He comments on my Instagrams. Although his display name is not as obviously Martin Austwick as my display name is.
Right.
But yeah, he's an interesting dude. He is into wrestling. He used to, I don't know if he still does. He practices medieval European martial arts. He used to have his own forge and make swords in his basement.
You're basically the same guy.
It's like me if I was unfettered by self-consciousness and was just I'm going to make swords and wrestle dudes.
Have you ever mooted the idea of an Austwick meetup?
Oh, please.
It's a little less practical now that I'm in Canada, but we did have a conversation because it turns out he plays a little bit of guitar, and I suggested we form a band called the Martin Austwicks, which would be pretty fun.
That's a great press story, isn't it? How did you meet?
I'm trying to build a website to bring tourists to Radlit, but when I open it up on my smartphone or tablet, something goes wrong and it just looks a bit shit. Unlike Hertfordshire itself.
Well, try building that website using Squarespace on desktop and devices. It will look simply ace, as well designed as Hertfordshire with all that lovely green space.
County of Opportunity and Stevenage.
Thank you very much to Squarespace for sponsoring Answer Me This.
And for helping you design beautiful websites and run businesses, because one of the things they've started doing now is including invoicing with their packages. And that includes in the Squarespace mobile app as well, by the way, so not just on desktop. So if you are running your sort of showbiz part of your business, the website through Squarespace, you can now run the business end of your business as well, right from the same dashboard.
What if the invoice bit is the showbiz bit? For some people, that might be what floats their boat.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm very glad that I have a creative job, but equally, when that 1 day in 30 comes along where it's I'm going to be doing my tax return and invoicing today, I quite look forward to that. I get my calculator out. For me, that's a holiday.
Do you still have that big pink calculator that you got at the Chinese supermarket in Purley when we went there for lunch once?
No, sadly. I've got this one. Look, it's within reach. I just reached for it so you can see on the webcam. This is a Casio scientific calculator. Solar powered, which I think I got for, I dropped maths in the 6th form, so it takes you back to at least 1996.
Wow.
Still going strong.
My thought was, it's not that difficult to write your own invoices. And then I remembered that there's a company that I have done probably 20 jobs for this year and haven't sent them a single invoice yet because I'm So some of us do need the gentle help of Squarespace to take some chores off our hands.
Head to squarespace.com/answer for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, you can save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain when you use our code ANSWER.
Hi, Helen, Ollie, and Martin the Sound Man. This is Anna calling from Southeast London with a dilemma. I am a chili fiend. I love chili. I eat it with basically every meal from breakfast to dinner. I have a famous chili sauce recipe that is handed down from my mum. I'm Asian. I love to cook with chili. And my husband is a white British man who can't take it. Even if he gamely eats it, he will pay. Helen and Ollie, answer me this. Is there any way to train somebody's body to become more able to take spice? Or am I doomed to cooking curries when he's away like it's some sort of weird fetish? And is he doomed when I take him to Malaysia to meet my family to just order the blandest thing on the menu? Please help. Help.
Yay. I love that these kids have made it so far with this standing in their way.
Yeah.
There must be a lot of love there.
So, okay. Yes, you can train your body
Yay.
To tolerate greater intensity of chilies because that is effectively what your family have done through their Malaysian culture. There is not great evidence out there for genetic tolerance of chili. Mm-hmm. It is more likely cultural exposure. Chilies aren't supposed to be eaten by humans because chilies want to be spread by birds in their feces.
Oh, yeah, and birds don't feel the heat of capsaicin, do they?
Correct. So most animals can't bear it, rodents don't eat chilies because it makes them like shit for a week. Whereas birds eat them whole, can't detect the heat from the chilies, and then spray the seeds around through their poop, and more chilies are born. And in humans, the reason we say it's hot, that spicy food is hot, is because your body is literally giving you the same reaction as when you put your hand on a hot stove. That's the signal in your head that you get when you eat capsaicin if you're not used to it. And so all of that is nothing to do with being white and nothing to do with where you're from in the world, apart from what you've been brought up with.
Yeah, and I would say that some white culture has really embraced that part of not being a bird.
Exactly. So, yes, if you are interested in building up your tolerance, then you can. And the way to do it is slowly. Maybe add Tabasco to food and then build up tolerance.
I would encourage him to like it and not to think that he won't like it and he's only eating it as an act of love to you and an act of hatred onto his bowels in the near future. So I would start with chili content that is not necessarily very hot but is very flavoursome, because some chilies just taste of mouth burn. Others are like really fruity, really delicious, different complex flavours. So start with those. Like Martin, the other day, we bought a jar of this local chili crisp by a company called Holy Duck. And Martin doesn't tend to tolerate like hot spice that well, but he loves this stuff. It's delicious.
Great.
Laogan Ma mushroom oil, I'd recommend that because that's like very savoury and it's got like a nice texture. It's got peanuts in, but it's not like hot yet. So that's where I'd begin.
The other thing as well that's worth bearing in mind, because it's fat soluble, you're better off keeping yogurt and milk to hand if it's all a bit much for you rather than water.
It's a classic technique.
Yeah.
My experience as a sensitive bowel haver is that there are certain kind of foodstuffs that are more upsetting to my body. When it's like the capsaicin is like carried in a sauce. It's like a vector for the spice, basically. This isn't scientific. This is just based on personal bowel experience of like, it's less irritating.
Personal bowel experience, PBE.
PBE, yeah. So actually a curry maybe isn't the way to go, but like, for example, like jerk chicken, that's super spicy, but it's just kind of on the outside. So you don't actually get the quantity of spice, even though the quality of that spice is quite intense and burny. So like I can usually eat jerk chicken without too much upset, but like a spicy curry, there's a lot of spices and it's well dissolved.
Yeah, but he's not going to get a choice. Ultimately, he's going to Malaysia and he's eating what they're eating, right?
Yeah, but there's a range of dishes in Malaysia. It's not all curries.
Yeah, I don't remember things being super hot in Malaysia. And we're different people, Martin and I.
They are spicy lads.
But also, I mean, I don't know what kind of family Anna comes from, but some families love for a new member to have something humiliating.
To be humiliated, yeah.
They can be mean to them about. What a gift you're giving them.
Yeah. Like that episode of The Crown when Princess Diana gets introduced to Balmoral and they're all just laughing at her.
Yes, you really want Anna's marriage to be like that. Aspirational stuff.
Well, here's an ingredient we can all agree on. Garlic.
Yes.
In this question from Max. He says, garlic is the backbone of so many tasty dishes from around the world. Every cuisine seems to love it. But where did it actually come from? We've got wild garlic growing in the countryside here in the UK, but that's leafy and green, not like the bulbous stuff in the shops. Helen, answer me this. When and where did humans first start cooking with garlic, and how did it become the global superstar ingredient it is today?
I think documented in use in China, which is probably where it originated, and in Central and Southwest Asia, from, I think, 5,000 to 7,000 years ago. That's when people were already using it in food and in medicine and as a preservative.
Which doesn't massively surprise me because it does smell nice. You know, like some things that end up in cooking, you're like, how the hell did someone have the idea? Cut that off, heat it up, like let it cool down again, chop it up, stick it in a thing.
Let it ferment in a cupboard for 3 months,
Yeah, exactly. Whereas garlic, hold it up to your nose, you're like, that would be an interesting thing to add to my food, so I can see why that would happen quickly.
Yeah, and then in ancient Egypt, it was like found in the tomb of Tutankhamun. So it was the kind of thing that they would put in a tomb because it was important. Ancient Greek Olympians would eat it. Gladiators in ancient Rome would eat it. It was often prescribed for physical ailments like insect bites and animal bites and gastrointestinal complaints and pulmonary ailments. But then if you are concentrating on it in Northern Europe, Max, I think it arrived there in medieval times via sort of Italian trade routes because the Romans had it. And King Henry IV of France was baptised in a mixture of water and garlic to protect him from evil spirits and health issues.
Oh, if I was going to be baptised, I would like to be baptised in a boiling vat of garlic.
Boiling.
And then given a stuffed crust.
That's a selling point for the baptismal religions.
Yeah. The smell of raw garlic under my fingernails. I know this is sometimes...
Oh, I love it.
I love it.
Garlic on my hand.
Yeah, like it's one of the things, I think they sell gadgets to stop your fingers smelling of it when you're chopping garlic. But it's like the thing that I really like about preparing a meal. I'm like, yes, I'm cooking.
I think although garlic was very popular and in many ways lauded, there were also people who were like, oh no, it's uncivilized because garlic makes you feel too many feelings, or oh, it's not aristocratic. And I recently was reading Dracula for work, and in that, you know, their abilities to defend against vampires are much worse than they need be, because they could just put garlic and garlic flowers all over the place.
Yes.
All of them are like, oh no, I'm so, yuck, and so someone gets vamped.
Yeah, you know what I'd much rather do? Run a stake through the heart of an undead, centuries-old vampire.
Yeah, that seems easier. Us like going and tracking him to a port and sitting around for weeks waiting for his coffins to turn up on a ship.
Sticking some garlic on my windowsill like some pampas grass. Yeah, just get the stakes in.
It's so ludicrous. And I think maybe it became far more popular in the 20th century because things like Italian food became like globally such a big deal. And French food is like so lauded in 20th century cuisine. And that is garlic forward as well.
I've never added wild garlic to my cooking though, by the way. He mentions wild garlic.
Well, garlic,
great.
You really don't want to cook it, or you don't want to cook it for very long because it like sort of breaks down really quickly. You can make like a lovely pesto of it.
I'm smiling because you said pesto, and Toby, my 5-year-old, he thinks that the Sabrina Carpenter song Espresso is about pesto.
That's the most middle-class thing I think I've ever heard. Although espresso is pretty middle-class to begin with.
Yeah.
That's that me pesto.
It's not me, it's pesto. I think that's the version he sings.
It's a thought-provoking reinterpretation of the meaning of that song, which I guess does contain concepts that would be maybe a little out of reach of his 5-year-old experience.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Please send us an email, we love to keep in touch. If you send us an email, we'll like you very much. It's answermethispodcast@googlemail.com. That's answermethispodcast@googlemail.com. So please send us an email, or we won't know you're there. And if we like your email, we'll read it out on air.
A question of hair now from Chandler, who says, Helen, answer me this. Why is it called a widow's peak when your hair comes to a small point in the middle of your forehead? What's so unmarriageable about that?
Well, it's not unmarriageable, because to be a widow, you have to have had a spouse.
Correct.
Maybe you'll be a bit disappointed, Chandler. There's nothing really sinister about it. It's just when your hairline goes down like a little point in the middle of your forehead, it's reminiscent of how 18th, 19th century widows would wear these hoods or caps that had a little point down the middle.
Oh, so female widows?
Yeah, widowers are men.
Yeah, so actually, but it's widowers who have widow's peaks, isn't it? I've never really thought about this before. Generally speaking, women don't have it.
No, they do. It's pretty much equal across genders.
Okay.
15 to 30% of people have one.
But it's not a thing that I've ever heard applied to them before. Maybe they do have them.
Marilyn Monroe was a famous widow's peak haver. As is Kourtney Kardashian and Mickey Mouse.
I'm just saying.
Mickey Mouse.
I'm just saying, Mickey Mouse. Yeah, that is a textbook one. But I'm just saying, I've only ever heard it with men talking about, because it's men that tend to be more concerned because it suggests they're losing their hair, the shape of their hair.
Beginning of balding, yeah.
Yes, but it's just interesting that it's a female widow that would have worn. I'm guessing widowers wouldn't have worn those special hats to tell everyone they were widowers.
They would just be off getting a new wife.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think the reason that the widow's peak was popular for a bit to put on a depiction of a vampire, and also the Joker in the comic books, is because it is suggestive of death, just through association. You know what was disappointing, actually, was the information available about this, because most of the sites are hair clinics describing them and then telling you what you can do about them if you don't like having one. And then papers about genetics, because it is a genetic thing, like being able to roll your tongue. But really not that much about the culture of Widow's Peak, which I was disappointed by.
One of the things that I've seen on those blogs where it is kind of for men offering them hair transplants, I mean, I know that it's trying to get them to say, yes, I'll come to Harley Street and give you $5,000. But one of the options it suggests is, if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to pay us money to sort out your hairline, why don't you trim your hair back to match the hairline behind it? That's so much worse than a widow's peak, isn't it? If you're worried that the widow's peak makes it look like you're accentuating your hairline receding, receding your hairline so far that it looks like your hair is a wig falling backwards off your head doesn't feel like the right option to deal with that.
Hey, it's a trend that could come back.
Christian Slater's always going to be cool.
Yeah. And Leonardo DiCaprio has a widow's peak.
Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio, I'm not sure is cool.
He seems like someone who knows he is uncool and is not comfortable with that.
I think it's more that he was so cool when he was 17 that once you've been that cool, you can't be cool after that.
Yeah, but then Christian Slater was cool when he was 17 and then came back around in middle age to cool.
Yeah. But Christian Slater, I think, is almost cool because he's been around so long and you've forgotten about him. Whereas DiCaprio's remained A-list. Christian Slater, it wouldn't be weird if he turned up in a sitcom on BBC One. Do you know what I mean? DiCaprio's not going to be doing that.
Well, it depends how many Victoria's Secret models have been used as bait to get him on there. Here's a question from Letty, who says, I am a femdom and have spent a while really getting into the BDSM lifestyle. Obviously, I understand that many kinks are long-standing things dating back centuries. However, if sex work is the oldest industry, then, Ollie, answer me this. When do you think dominatrices started making an appearance on the scene? And how do you think this originated?
So a femdom is female dominatrix in this context, right?
Yeah.
I'm just speaking as a sort of vanilla to the BDSM world. On behalf of, I assume there are some vanilla listeners as well.
Thing is, you're asking a question there about the history of the world and sexuality, and things weren't recorded for many centuries in written form. So, you can't really speak for how dominatrixes may have originated all over the world.
Right. There's not a properly sourced compendium of international dominatrices of history.
Right. But
yet,
I think I can say where in Britain certainly was the peak, which may have led to it becoming more of a service that people visiting sex workers were asking for. And that is the publication of Fanny Hill in 1748. Have you ever read Fanny Hill?
I haven't. We have talked about it on the show before, I believe, in the respect of where the term fanny came from.
Yeah. This comes from some sort of Latin translation that sort of suggested a mound. And therefore it was a way of saying, I've written a book that's got lady parts in it. And John Cleland, who wrote it, Memoirs of a Woman of Pleasure is what it's actually called. He wrote it in debtor's prison. So we know that this environment of punishment played a part in the novel that he wrote. And that sparked a strong demand for discipline services. Oh. And that was met by women who offered role play scenarios with equipment. And we know that because that sort of thing was documented. You'll have heard about the Molly houses, what you would now call the gay community of London of that era. You had a dominatrix community as well operating under the euphemism displace house.
Displace house?
The clients were known as cullies, and the term flogging was developed.
Was flogging not around before for punishing children?
Yes, it was.
Whatever?
And that actually speaks then to the other thread that comes into this, right? And again, a lot of fetishes and kinks have their roots in childhood. Again, particularly in Britain, where you have people who are punished at school, spanked by birch rods and stuff. There was another trend for birching, and another book called Fashionable Lectures by Henry Thomas Buckle in 1782, which is a collection of kinky stories about being spanked with birch rods. The collection opens with the following, quote, philosophers who've studied nature and all our holy fathers swear a rod's the best invigorator, a rod applied upon the rear. That's the mission statement for the stories. They're all basically stories for men who were spanked at school and now have an interest in this, which they could talk about a little bit more openly after the Marquis de Sade and all that sort of erotic references floating around. And the other reason that it's documented from that kind of era is because a lot of sex workers were actresses and vice versa, which is why for a long time the profession of being a female actor was not as respected as it might be, because gentlemen could literally go backstage and sometimes, I'm sure not consensually, involve themselves with the actors who had just been on stage. And so they're famous. We know that there are certain actresses who were involved in what you now might call dominatrix work. And so they're documented, there are portraits of them in the National Portrait Gallery. But all of this does go back much, much further than that. There's a fresco in the ruins of Pompeii which shows a whipstress.
We didn't get shown that on our school trip to Pompeii.
Exactly.
Even though they kept talking about penises the whole time.
It's in a private house. It was obviously someone's sort of fetish to see a woman with a whip, a woman in control. And she's whipping another woman as well. So I think the kink is there to see, but nonetheless, it's a sort of quasi-religious painting because she's wearing wings and she's some sort of godly figure. I also think as well, a lot of it is tied in with the history of the mistress, not the sex worker. This is typically what consenting adults did, but not in their marriages. And so, of course, that wasn't documented because it's an affair.
Marriages weren't necessarily for pleasure,
no,
but for, land strategy, bearing the right kind of heir, and then you get your pleasure elsewhere.
Indeed, yeah.
Is that why you married me, for land strategy?
Yeah, it's just like a real-life game of Catan, our marriage.
Actually, Alex Fox, who people may know from my other podcast, The Modern Man, she has made a whole series on this called Kink, which you can find on Audible. Kink with an exclamation mark, like a Lionel Bart musical. And she recommended that I look at the Bishopsgate Institute's UK Fetish Archive, which is this sort of directory of kink, which goes from the early 1900s onwards. Leather, rubber, fetish material. And I found this guy who was an actor. He only died about 30 years ago, I think, who seemed to really fetishize Harry Houdini.
Oh, interesting, because he was into that sort of bondage.
Tied up, shackled to things, left underwater.
Chains, straitjackets.
Yeah, sort of masculine heroism, but in the hands of a glamorous assistant thing. He had a whole underground scene based around Houdiniism.
Wow.
And it makes you think, well, how many people liked Houdini in the first place? Because that was going on. I never really thought about that. But that's what I mean. It's sort of there, but not necessarily in plain sight,
It's comforting in a way. There's always someone to be hot for something.
Exactly.
That brings us to the end of the show. If you have questions for us, then you can send them in the form of voice or writing. All of the contact details are on our website,
AnswerMeThisPodcast.com.
And you may have noticed that the previous episode in your pod feed was a new feature, Answer Us Back, where we address some of the feedback that you have sent us about episodes old and new. So if you have stories to add or ways in which Answer Me This advice transformed or ruined your life, then please send that to us. And we're looking forward to the next one because we got some fascinating feedback about last month's question about the sperm donor.
Oh, yes. I'm looking forward to talking about that.
Yeah. And as we may have mentioned in the show, go to patreon.com/answermethis to enjoy Ollie Mann's magnum opus.
No, come on. It's Helen and Ollie's magnum opus.
Okay,
it's everything we've done since 2007. Doesn't matter that I did the admin.
Okay, well, the admin was a magnum opus that I never would have got around to doing. And therefore, I respect you for doing it. But yes, it is a magnificent opus.
Patreon.com/answermethis. Every tier gets the opportunity as well to watch Petty Problems, our live streaming video series.
Lovely, fun time.
And so if you missed joining in live last time, it's not too late to catch up with that, as well as the first two episodes, each of them an hour long. And in the most recent one, we discuss microwaving warm plates and the relative strength of circles and triangles.
Yeah, stuff that does not hurt you emotionally to think about, one hopes.
Can't hurt.
Indeed. Right, what else is going on in the Answer Me This related universe? Helen?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was recently a guest on a new podcast by Arnie Niekamp, who makes Hello from the Magic Tavern, which I know there are some fans of in our audience. He's making a podcast about Christmas music. It's called No Skip Christmas. And I got to tell him about the vast difference between the British and American Christmas canon of pop music.
Yes.
And Americans have all been surprised when I tell them how different it is. It's like glam rock inflected.
Yes.
The history of it is pretty interesting. I sent him some videos of like some of the classic Top of the Pops performances where you think, why are they punishing people for having a Christmas number one with this abject humiliation? So that is fun. That is No Skip Christmas. And also, if you're feeling festive, last year, Martin and I put on a performance over 4 days where I read the entirety of A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, and Martin did live music, and it was a real hoot. That is available at youtube.com/illusionistshow.
Oh, that does sound fun.
It is really fun. That book is a banger.
We're going to do one this year.
I think we should.
I want to do The Signalman.
All right, I'll do The Signalman. I've not read it, but it's short, which is important.
There's no The Muppet Signalman, unfortunately, so I wouldn't know it.
That is the problem.
Yeah.
The only literature worth a bean is that which the Muppets have adapted. Muppet Christmas Carol is a very good adaptation of the book, as well as a good film in its own right.
It is the best adaptation of A Christmas Carol and the best Muppet film and one of the best Christmas films, and I will hear nothing else said. In terms of my work, check out all my podcasts at ollyman.com. But I do feel, actually, I should, for a third month running, plug The Modern Man, my monthly magazine show in particular, because a couple of Answer Me This listeners have been kind enough to get in touch recently and say that because I've been talking about it in this show, they've tried it out finally and they love it.
Better late than never.
One of them was like, you really should have talked about it more. I'm like, seriously, fucking 10 years I've been telling you.
Did they fall asleep before the end?
Anyway,
Jeez.
The Modern, MANN, wherever you get your podcasts. And in the current episode of The Modern Man, which is called Did I Kill the British Sitcom? I interview a man called Jimmy Donny Cosgrove, who was the co-writer of Warren on BBC One. Now, Warren was a big, shiny, family, broad sitcom that was double billed with This Time with Alan Partridge in 2019 and was absolutely massacred by the critics. It was like picked apart on Twitter. He got death threats.
Oh, that's silly.
I've watched it on Amazon Prime and it's quite a good, nice family sitcom. And yet it completely divided the nation. So I'm speaking to him about that. How did it feel to be on the receiving end of a lot of hatred for just trying to make people laugh in what was, in fact, his debut show? He'd never had anything that he'd written go to TV. This was his big break and he hasn't written anything since that's been on telly.
Oh, no. How brutal.
So yes, it was a brutal experience for him, but he opens up to me. And if you're interested in comedy and writing, which I know lots of you are, do check out that episode, modernman.co.uk.
And hopefully getting featured on The Modern Man will help heal some of those wounds.
It will have made it all worthwhile,
Yes.
sure. Being told by the Telegraph that you're the final nail in the coffin of British comedy. Martin, what have you been up to?
I've mostly been working on a live show I'm doing at the Vancouver Planetarium on the 2nd of December, but you have to be in Vancouver and it's sold out, so tough tits.
I've seen some good Instagram videos promoting that.
Yeah.
You should follow Martin on Instagram because Martin's pivot to video is the only pivot to video from any media organisation that I tolerate.
There you go. All right. Well, that's a good recommendation. Yeah. What are you on Insta, Marts?
I'm at Martin Orstwick.
And sometimes you'll see the other Martin Orstwick commenting.
And sometimes the other Martin Orstwick will join in.
Yeah.
see them
Stick
both.
around for that top draw content. I'm working on a new episode for my experimental podcast, Neutrino Watch. My co-conspirator Jeff has just made an episode called The Best of the Manosphere, which is he takes episodes of Manosphere podcasts, which you can probably guess what they are, and just takes the gaps between words and stitches them together into soundscapes. So I've made a remix of that episode based on Georgi Ligeti's poem Symphonic for 100 Metronomes.
God, so mainstream, Martin.
Any
Yes, I
Ligeti
know.
fans out there?
Did Peter Kay do it first?
It's way too complicated to explain, but if you go to neutrino.watch, you can find it.
If you want to do any of those things, you can. If otherwise you just want to send us a question, you know what to do. You can find our old stuff at answermethisstore.com if you don't want to find it through Patreon.
We do have an album all about Christmas as well, which
yes.
is a very fascinating topic because it's such a weird occasion. So if you want any festive facts for this time of year, you're not going to listen to it in like April, are you? So now's the time, really.
Now's the time. Answermethisstore.com or free included with those middle and higher Patreon tiers.
Yeah, I don't think you can say it's free when you have to pay.
It's bundled in. Otherwise, we will be back on the last Thursday. Well, the last Thursday of December is actually Christmas Day, so fuck that. We're not coming back on the last Thursday. But the show will be out on Christmas Eve, the last Wednesday of the year, ready for you to engage with whenever you wish over the holiday season thereafter.
That's right. And halfway through the month, there will be an episode of Answer Us Back in your pod feed. What fun.
Bye!
Helen and Ollie, answer me this.